Does being a good person actually pay off? Growing up, I for sure thought it did, albeit a very specific version of good, since I grew up a Christian. This meant goodness was something that came from outside of me. It was something defined by rules, stories, and belief. A framework handed to me long before I actually knew what it was. You don't question morality when you're wrong. You inherit it. Now, for a long time, I didn't question it at all. I simply followed the idea that was given to me. But somewhere during my teenage years, something shifted. And surprisingly, the big catalyst for this change was a TV show. I don't know if you know Derren Brown. For me, it's a figure that I respect hugely and I'm a little scared of, honestly. This is because Derren has a very deep understanding of the human psyche. And if you are also someone that loves to understand what makes humans tick, I would recommend looking him up. Now, in one of his TV shows called Fear and Faith, Derren demonstrates how belief can be constructed, how meaning can be created, and how comfort can be manufactured. How easily the human mind can accept something as true if it fills the right emotional need. Watching this really flipped my world upside down. Out of nowhere, I realized that what I believed was borrowed, not chosen, not discovered, just absorbed. The moral compass I was clinging so much onto wasn't something I built, it was something that was given to me. The video made me ask a lot of questions. But one big question could be summarized in one word. Why? The why of existence was given to me. The why of existence I had, being a good person, to live in God's image, to get into heaven, it didn't exist anymore. So, what was the point of being good? If I don't have to be good to get into heaven or to appeal to God, then why be good at all? Most people never ask where their moral beliefs actually come from. Right and wrong, according to psychologists, is shaped even before we know what right and wrong means. By parents, culture, religion or its absence. By whatever stories helped us feel safe. We inherit our moral instincts long before we even examine them. Now imagine that when those frames, those fundaments you never even saw, fall away, when your belief changes, you're forced to rebuild the entire structure from scratch. Aristotle believed that goodness isn't a rule you follow, it's a shape you grow into. The way I basically understand Aristotle, morality isn't something that's just there, it's something you build. You can break them down into character traits. Patience, courage, moderation, honesty, integrity. They aren't commandments, they're habits, skills, forms you learn to shape, the same way you shape material. This honestly gave me hope, but not only that, also a sense of freedom. In a way, yes, I was responsible for morality, but there's actually virtue into doing something without having a clear reward. If you're not incentivized to be good, but you do it anyway, it actually means goodness is way more authentically you. Like going for a jog or creating something. Goodness is something you obey. It's not a master that tells you you're doing something right or wrong. No, it's something you craft. This makes it way more beautiful, in my opinion. Now, this doesn't take away though that being good isn't always pleasant. It can actually be hard, having to disappoint someone, holding a boundary, telling the truth instead of being agreeable. Being a good person doesn't actually mean you've got an easy life. Sometimes it actually seems like it's the opposite. Being good can cost you comfort. It can cost you time. It can cost you relationship. It can cost you opportunities. So what's the point of being good if it can actually set you back? There is this field in psychology that's called game theory. It's a way of studying how we make decisions. And one of its most famous ideas is the prisoner's dilemma. In this game, there's two people being caught doing a minor crime. The police knows they both did a bigger crime together. But they don't have evidence. So the two partners get interrogated in separate rooms. They get the following proposition. Option 1. You betray your partner before your partner betrays you, and you get out without a sentence. Option 2. You don't betray your partner and go to jail, but only for the minor crime. So the problem is, the other partner gets the same proposition. Meaning, if you don't betray your partner, you run the risk of being betrayed by your partner. Meaning, you will go to jail for the bigger crime, while they go scot-free. Now in this world, betraying your partner is always the most beneficial. This is because if you cooperate, you will always serve the minor sentence, even if the other party also cooperates. But if you betray, and you do it first, you go scot-free. So it's the most logical option, right? Robert Axelrod from the University of Michigan was actually interested in this dilemma. So he organized a tournament where a multitude of strategies could partake to try to win Prisoner's Dilemma. The only catch with this Prisoner's Dilemma was that it would be played for multiple rounds, not just one. This meant all kinds of different programs were submitted. Some were mean, some were nice, some always betrayed and some always cooperated. Some were sneaky about it. Now the interesting thing is, because the dilemma now went on for multiple rounds, the nicest strategies were always the winning ones. This simulation proved that in the long term, being good actually pays off. What's more, the winning strategy overall was tit for tat. This strategy basically played on the following rules. It would always start off being nice, so cooperating. Then it would follow suit with whatever the other party would do. So if the other party in return would also cooperate, the next round tit for tat would cooperate again. But if the other strategy would betray, tit for tat would in turn betray as well. If after that the other strategy would again cooperate, tit for tat would cooperate. So isn't this a big simulation of life? Sure, in the short term, slighting someone in order to get what you want will get you what you want most likely. But the person you did this to will not look at you the same way. If you're nice first and you give something first, the likelihood of someone else being nice to you and giving something back is way bigger. And if people do take advantage of you being nice, you can always retaliate. Although, following the tit-for-tat strategy to the letter would mean you're also able to forgive. Sure, you can let someone know they slighted you, but keeping room for the other person to grow also benefits you in the end. But what if this is something that doesn't need to be proven to us? There seems to be evidence that our ancestors actually knew that altruism was a way to survive, or at least the right way to live. Look at this story from anthropology. Archaeologists once found the remains of an ancient primate. Quite old, with teeth so worn down or missing that it shouldn't have been able to feed itself for a very long time. On its own, it should have starved. And yet, it lived long enough for the bone to show age. Now, the only way that could have happened is if others actually took care of it. If the group it was in had brought it food. If they chewed or prepared softer pieces. If they had decided in some quiet, wordless way, you still belong with us. Then there's other people saying the first sign of civilization isn't a weapon, a tool or a monument, but a healed bone. A body that only survived because someone else decided to care. Maybe goodness isn't something that appears late in our story, but it's actually there from the very beginning. Something ingrained in us. But maybe these stories also suggest a little more. Maybe it tells us that sometimes we help people when there's no obvious thing to gain. Maybe that's why being good feels right in a way. You know, maybe it's not just an ideal or a rule, but some kind of instinct our bodies recognize. A pattern older than us. So, does being good actually pay off? Well, not always in obvious ways. But over time, it does give you something else. A shape, a center, a self you can trust. You know who you are. A person you believe in. Goodness is not something you do to earn something. Maybe it's something you become.